My husband's ex always seemed to know when we'd broken up or had problems. His best friend admitted, she's not psychic. He still calls her for advice every time you two argue. The words landed like a slap. We were at a barbecue, beer in hand, casual conversation, but nothing felt casual anymore. Every strange coincidence from the past 5 years suddenly clicked into place. The flowers that arrived after our first big fight, from a friend. The text she sent asking if I was okay the morning after he stormed out. The coffee date she proposed the week I found his dating app still installed. I'd thought she was being kind, mature, the cool ex-wife who wanted everyone to get along. That night, I went through his phone while he showered. The messages went back years. Screenshots of our arguments, her responses coaching him through every word. Tell her you need space, but you're committed. Women need reassurance. Send flowers tomorrow. She's probably just insecure. Give it time. My entire marriage had a consultant. I scrolled back further, found the conversation from our wedding day. He'd texted her that morning asking if he was making a mistake. She'd replied about cold feet being normal, about how I was a good choice for this phase of his life. Choice, phase, like I was a car lease. But the worst part was reading my own words reflected back at me through his reports to her. Private fears I'd whispered at midnight, insecurities I'd shared when vulnerable, the thing about my weight, my anxiety about not being smart enough for his friends. He'd documented everything, sent it all to her, asked how to handle me like I was a difficult client instead of his wife. I found emails too, her advice on my promotion, my miscarriage, my mother's funeral. She'd known about all of it before my own sister did. He'd called her from the hospital parking lot while I was losing our baby, asking if he should stay or if it was okay to leave for his work dinner. She'd told him to stay for an hour, then make an excuse. He'd followed her script exactly. There were voice memos. Hours of them. Him venting after I'd asked him to help more with housework. Her soothing voice explaining that I was probably stressed, that he should buy me something nice, and I'd forget about it. It had worked. He'd bought me earrings. I'd felt guilty for nagging. The pattern was everywhere once I knew to look for it. Every successful apology had been her words. Every romantic gesture had been her idea. Even the proposal, the restaurant, the speech, the timing, all her suggestions, captured in messages from 8 months before he'd asked. When he came out of the shower, I was sitting on the bed with his phone. How long? I asked quietly. He went pale. Started the apologies, the explanations, said it wasn't what it looked like, that she was just a friend, that I was overreacting. But I'd read the messages. I knew better. She knows things about me that nobody knows, I said. Things I told you in confidence. In bed, when I was crying, and you reported back to her like I was a case study. His face crumpled. It's not like that. She just understands relationships better than I do. She's been through you, I interrupted. And apparently she's still going through you. We're just friends. Friends don't get play-by-play updates of your wife's miscarriage. Friends don't coach you through manipulating your spouse. He sat down hard on the edge of the bed. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then I said the thing that had been growing in my mind for the past hour. I want to meet her. His face went white. What? Why? Because, I replied, standing up, I think it's time your wife and your marriage counselor finally had a conversation. He tried everything to talk me out of it. Said I was being irrational, that I'd embarrassed myself, that she'd done nothing wrong and I was looking for someone to blame for our problems. But I'd already sent her a message from his phone, casual, friendly. Hey, my wife wants to meet you for coffee. She's been wanting to thank you for being so understanding all these years. Tomorrow at 10? She'd responded within minutes. I'd love that. I've always wanted to get to know her better. Of course she had. I didn't sleep that night. Just lay there listening to him breathe, wondering how many times he'd called her after we'd made love, how many intimate moments he'd dissected with her later, whether she'd coached him through our honeymoon, our anniversary, the night I'd told him I loved him for the first time. The coffee shop was her choice. Upscale, trendy, the kind of place where everyone looked like they had their lives together. She was already there when I arrived, sitting at a corner table with 2 lattes. She'd ordered for me. Somehow knew I took oat milk and vanilla. Of course she knew. It's so nice to finally do this properly, she said, standing to hug me. She smelled like jasmine and expensive shampoo. I feel like I already know you. Funny, I said, sitting down. I feel the same way. She was beautiful in person, effortlessly so. The kind of woman who made yoga pants look elegant. No wonder he'd kept her in his life. No wonder he'd never really let her go. We made small talk for a few minutes. Her job, my job, the weather. She was good at this. Warm, engaging, the kind of person you'd want as a friend. I almost understood why he'd trusted her. Then I pulled out my phone and placed it on the table between us. I found something interesting, I said. Would you like to see? Her smile faltered slightly. Just a flicker, but I caught it. I turned the phone toward her, showed her the screenshots I'd taken, her messages to him, spanning years, her advice on how to handle me, her suggestions on what to say when I was upset. The color drained from her face. I can explain, she started. I'm sure you can, I said. You seem very good at explaining things, at coaching people through difficult conversations, at knowing exactly what to say to make everything seem okay. She opened her mouth, closed it. For the first time since I'd arrived, she looked uncertain. How long have you been in love with him? I asked. I'm not. Don't lie to me, I interrupted. You've had enough practice lying through him. Her hands trembled slightly as she wrapped them around her latte. It's not what you think. Then tell me what it is. She took a long breath. When she spoke, her voice was quieter. We were together for 8 years. You don't just stop caring about someone after that long. When he started dating you, I wanted him to be happy. I thought if I helped him, made sure he didn't make the same mistakes with you that he made with me, maybe it would work out. You wanted him to be happy, I repeated. Or you wanted to stay relevant. She flinched. Every time he called you, every time he asked for advice, you got to be the one who understood him, the one he turned to, the one who mattered. That's not, You knew about my miscarriage before my own mother did, I said. My voice was steady, but my hands were shaking. You told him it was okay to leave me alone in that hospital room. What kind of person does that? Tears welled up in her eyes. I didn't know how serious it was. He said you were fine, that you'd told him to go. I never said that. He lied to you too. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. Her mascara smudged. I thought I was helping. You were helping yourself, I said. To my marriage, to my life, to my husband. The coffee shop suddenly felt too small, too crowded. I could feel people glancing over at us, sensing the tension. Does he know you're here? She asked quietly. He tried to stop me. She laughed bitterly. Of course he did. Did you love him? I asked. When you were together? She looked at me for a long moment. Yes. Do you still? Another pause. Longer this time. I don't know. Maybe I love the version of him I helped create for you. The one who sends flowers and remembers anniversaries and knows how to apologize. The one I coached him to be. The honesty startled me. He was terrible at relationships when we were together, she continued. Selfish, emotionally unavailable. When we divorced, I swore I'd never waste time on someone like that again. But then he started dating you, and he'd call asking for help, and I thought maybe I could fix him from a distance. Make him into the partner I'd always wanted him to be. For you. That's sick, I said. I know. We sat in silence. Her latte had gone cold. Mine sat untouched. What do you want from me? She finally asked. I want you to tell him it's over. The consulting, the advice, all of it. She nodded slowly. And if I don't, then I'll make sure everyone knows. Your friends, your family, his colleagues. I'll post every screenshot. Let them see how you've been orchestrating my marriage like it's your personal project. Her jaw tightened. That's vindictive. That's survival. She stood up, grabbed her purse. You know what the sad part is? I actually do want him to be happy. I thought you were good for him. Better than I was. If you thought I was good for him, you wouldn't have made him doubt me constantly. She paused at that. Didn't argue. Goodbye, she said. Then she walked out, leaving her cold latte and whatever remained of her dignity behind. I sat there for another hour, just thinking about all the moments that had been scripted, all the intimacy that had been manufactured, about whether I'd ever actually known my husband at all. When I got home, he was pacing in the living room. What did you say to her? The truth. She's not responding to my messages. Good. He ran his hands through his hair, a gesture I'd always found endearing. Now I wondered if she'd told him women found that attractive. You can't just cut her out of my life. I didn't, I said calmly. I gave her a choice. She made it. She's been my friend for over a decade. She's been your puppet master. And I've been the puppet. He sank onto the couch. I didn't mean for it to get this bad. It started innocently. I'd call her when I didn't know how to handle something and she'd help me figure it out. When did it start? He was quiet for a moment. Our second date. My stomach dropped. Our second date? You seemed so perfect. I was terrified of messing it up. So I called her and asked what I should do. She told me to be myself but bring flowers. Yellow roses because red would be too intense. Yellow roses. I thought he was so thoughtful, so attuned to nuance. Every date? I asked. Most of them. The proposal? He nodded. Our vows? Another nod. I felt something inside me crack. Was anything real? My feelings were real, he said desperately. I love you. That was always real. How would you even know? You've never tried loving me without her telling you how. He started crying then. Not the dignified tears of a man who's made a mistake. The ugly, desperate crying of someone who's realized they've destroyed something irreplaceable. Please, he said. We can fix this. How? By calling her for advice? He flinched. I went to our bedroom and started packing a bag. He followed me, begging me not to leave, promising he'd change. The same promises he'd probably practiced with her coaching. I need space, I said. For how long? I don't know. Where will you go? My sister's. He grabbed my hand. Please, just tell me what to do to fix this. I pulled away. That's your problem. You're still waiting for someone to tell you what to do. Figure it out yourself for once. My sister lived across town in a small apartment with her fiancé. She opened the door in pajamas, took one look at my face, and pulled me inside. Didn't ask questions. Just made tea and set up the guest room. That night, lying in an unfamiliar bed, I replayed our entire relationship in my mind, trying to find moments that had been genuine, spontaneous. Moments where he'd acted on his own instincts instead of following her script. I couldn't find many. The next morning, my sister knocked softly before coming in with coffee. Do you want to talk about it? I told her everything. Watched her face shift from confusion to horror to rage. I'm going to kill him, she said flatly. Get in line. She sat on the edge of the bed. What are you going to do? I don't know. Part of me wants to leave him. Part of me wants to see if we can build something real. Can you trust him again? That was the question, wasn't it? My phone buzzed constantly. Him calling, texting, begging to talk. I ignored most of it. But on the fourth day, he sent something different. A video. In it, he sat alone in our living room. No script, no polish. Just him, looking wrecked. I know you probably won't even watch this, he said to the camera. But I need to say it anyway. I've been thinking about what you said. About never figuring things out myself. You're right. I've been taking the easy way out my whole life. With her, with you, with everything. I don't even know who I am without someone telling me. He paused, wiping his eyes. I called a therapist today. Made an appointment. Not couples therapy. Just for me. Because I need to figure out why I can't trust myself. Why I needed her validation for every decision. Why I was so scared of failing with you that I let someone else be in our marriage. He looked directly at the camera. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't even expect you to come back. But I wanted you to know that I'm finally doing what you asked. I'm figuring it out myself. And I'm starting by admitting that I don't know how to be a husband. I don't know how to be a partner. I need to learn who I am before I can be anything to anyone else. The video ended. My sister looked at me. What do you think? I think it's a start, I said. But words are easy. He's always been good at words. Because she gave them to him. Exactly. But something about the video felt different. Raw. Like he'd finally stripped away all the performance. I didn't respond to it. Not yet. Instead, I spent the next week focusing on myself, went to the gym, started painting again, something I'd given up when we got married because I was always too busy making time for his needs, called old friends I'd lost touch with, remembered what it felt like to make decisions without considering someone else first. It felt like breathing after being underwater. My sister's fiancé, Caleb, was surprisingly good at giving perspective. We were making dinner one night when he said, "Can I ask you something?" "Sure. Do you still love him?" I stopped chopping vegetables. "I don't know. I love who I thought he was, but not who he actually is. I don't think I know who he actually is. I'm not sure he knows either." Caleb nodded thoughtfully. "My dad cheated on my mom when I was a kid. Not physically, but emotionally. Had this whole other relationship she didn't know about. When she found out, everyone told her to leave, but she didn't. Why not? She said she needed to know if the man she fell in love with was real, or if she'd been married to a performance. So she gave him 6 months, told him to go to therapy, figure his shit out, and prove to her that there was something worth saving. What happened? They've been married 30 years now. But she told me once that those 6 months were hell, watching him struggle to become a real person instead of whatever he'd been pretending to be. Do you think she made the right choice?" He shrugged. "I think she made the choice that let her sleep at night. That's all any of us can do." On day 9, my husband showed up at my sister's apartment. She answered the door, crossed her arms, and said, "You have 5 minutes." He looked thinner, tired, like he hadn't been sleeping. "I'm not here to convince you to come back," he said, standing in the doorway. "I just wanted to give you this." He handed me a notebook, plain, spiral bound. "What is it?" "Everything I should have told you myself. Things I asked her about instead of just talking to you. Questions I had, fears I had, moments where I wanted to say something but called her first to check if it was okay." I opened it, page after page of his handwriting. Confessions, realizations, apologies for specific moments I'd forgotten but he'd clearly been carrying. "My therapist suggested I write it down," he continued. "All of it. Every time I chose her advice over trusting myself with you. It's 200 pages. I'm still not done." I looked up at him. "Why are you giving this to me?" "Because you deserve to know who you were actually married to, not the edited version. The real, fucked up, cowardly version who couldn't even propose without step-by-step instructions." My sister was watching from the kitchen, arms still crossed. "I also wanted you to know," he said quietly, "that I blocked her number, deleted her from everything, told her in writing that I couldn't have her in my life anymore." "When?" 6 days ago. "And how's that going?" He laughed bitterly. "Terrible. I've almost called her probably 50 times. Had to literally give my phone to my brother for 2 days because I didn't trust myself. But I'm trying. I'm actually trying." I held the notebook against my chest. "I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything. I just needed you to know I'm doing the work, whether you come back or not." He turned to leave, then paused. "Oh, and I talked to a lawyer about the house. If you want a divorce, it's yours. I'll move out. I don't want you to feel trapped because of money or logistics or anything else." Then he left. My sister came over and sat beside me. "Well, yeah, what are you thinking?" "I'm thinking that might be the first real thing he's ever said to me." That night, I read the entire notebook. Every page, every confession. Some made me cry, some made me angry, some made me realize just how deep his issues went. But underneath all of it, I could see him actually trying to understand himself, to take responsibility, to stop hiding behind someone else's wisdom. There was an entry about our wedding night, how he'd excused himself to the bathroom and called her, panicking that he wasn't good enough for me, how she'd talked him down, told him exactly what to say when he came back to bed. I remembered that moment, how sweet his words had been, how loved I'd felt. Knowing it was scripted hurt worse than any of the other betrayals. But there was another entry, written just days ago, about how he'd started therapy and the therapist asked him why he'd married me. He'd started listing reasons, the same ones he'd probably practiced. But then the therapist stopped him and asked, "But why did you want to marry her? Not why she's a good choice. Why did your heart want her?" He'd written that he'd sat there for 20 minutes in silence because he'd never actually asked himself that question. He'd been so focused on not messing up, on being good enough, that he'd never stopped to feel his own feelings. The entry ended with, "I don't know if I can ever earn her forgiveness, but I need to figure out who I am, not for her, for me, because she deserves someone real. And I've never been real in my entire life." I closed the notebook. My sister peeked in. "You okay?" "I don't know." "That's fair." 2 weeks later, I agreed to meet him. Not at our house. At a neutral coffee shop, different from the one where I'd confronted his ex. He was already there. No coffee ordered. Just sitting, hands folded. "Thank you for coming," he said. I sat down across from him. "I read everything. I figured you might not. It was brutal. I know." We sat in silence for a moment. "I've been thinking," I said slowly, "about what I want." He didn't interrupt, just waited. "I want honesty. Real honesty. Not the kind where you tell me what you think I want to hear. The kind where you tell me what you're actually feeling, even if it's messy or unflattering." "Okay. I want to know when you're struggling, when you're scared, when you don't know what to do. I want you to tell me instead of calling someone else." "I will. And I want to see you actually do the work. Not just in therapy, but in real life. I want to see you make decisions without a safety net. I want to see you fail and figure it out instead of running for advice." He nodded. "What else?" "I want couples therapy. Both of us. Because this isn't just about you fixing yourself. I need to understand why I didn't see it. Why I accepted all those perfectly timed gestures without questioning them. Done. And I want time. I'm not moving back in right away. We're going to date again. Actually date. Like we're starting over. And this time, you're going to have to figure out what to do on your own. How long? As long as it takes for me to trust you again. Could be months. Could be a year, could be never. He took a shaky breath. That's fair. Are you willing to do that? To be uncomfortable and uncertain and have no one to call for reassurance? I don't really have a choice, do I? You always have a choice. He looked at me directly. Then yes, I'm willing. Because you're right. I've never actually tried to have a real relationship with you or anyone else. And if I don't learn now, I'll just keep making the same mistakes. I stood up. Okay, we can try. But I mean it about the time, and the honesty, and the work. This is your one chance. He stood too. Looked like he wanted to hug me but wasn't sure if he should. Thank you, he said instead. I left first. Drove back to my sister's apartment feeling lighter than I had in weeks. Not because everything was fixed, but because for the first time, I felt like I had a choice. My sister was waiting when I got back. How'd it go? We're going to try. She raised an eyebrow. You sure? No, but I need to know if the marriage is salvageable. If he's salvageable. I can't spend the rest of my life wondering. And if it doesn't work, then at least I'll know I tried. And I'll know I'm walking away from who he really is, not who I thought he was. She pulled me into a hug. I'm proud of you. For what? For not making it easy on him, for demanding better. The next few months were strained. We'd meet for coffee, for walks, for dinner. But everything felt different. Tentative. Like we were strangers learning each other for the first time. And in a way, we were. He'd show up sometimes with ideas for dates that were clearly terrible. I could tell he'd thought of them himself because they lacked the polish of his ex's suggestions. Once he took me to a baseball game, even though neither of us liked baseball. He'd just read that couples should try new things together. Why baseball? I asked. I don't know, he admitted. I panicked and picked the first thing I saw. It was awful. The seats were bad, the food was overpriced, and we left in the 6th inning, but it was real. Another time, he tried to cook me dinner and nearly burned down his apartment. We ended up ordering pizza and eating it on the floor while the smoke detector blared. This is a disaster, he said, laughing. It really is, I agreed. But we were both laughing, and it felt genuine in a way nothing had before. Therapy was harder, both individual and couples. There were sessions where I left angry, where he left in tears, where we both wanted to quit. Our therapist, Dr. Martinez, didn't let us off easy. You've both been living in fantasy, she said one session. You, because you let someone script your entire relationship. And you, because you accepted the performance without questioning it. You have to grieve the marriage you thought you had before you can build a real one. So we grieved. I grieved the romance I'd believed in. The grand gestures, the perfect apologies, the man who always seemed to know exactly what I needed. He grieved the safety net he'd relied on, the validation, the certainty that he was doing things right. It was painful, messy. Some days I was sure we'd never make it. But slowly, something shifted. He started making decisions and living with them, even when they were wrong. Started telling me when he was confused or scared instead of pretending he had it all figured out. Started being a person instead of a performance. And I started trusting him again. Not blindly, but carefully. Testing, watching. 6 months after our separation, we had our first real fight. Not the kind where he'd called someone for coaching. The kind where we both said things we meant, got angry, and had to figure out how to repair it ourselves. We fought about his mother, who'd been calling me asking when I was going to stop being dramatic and come home. I'd told her what he'd done. She'd said I was overreacting. You need to tell her to stop, I said. She's just worried about us. She's dismissing what you did. She's making me feel crazy. I'll talk to her. No, you need to tell her that what you did was wrong, that my reaction is justified, that she needs to respect my boundaries. He got defensive. She's my mom, and I'm your wife, or at least I'm trying to be. We went back and forth for an hour, both stubborn, both angry. Finally, he said, "You're right. I'll call her right now." And he did. Put her on speaker, told her everything I'd asked him to say. She sputtered, argued, tried to guilt trip him. He held firm. When he hung up, I looked at him. That was hard. Yeah. You did it anyway. Yeah. I kissed him. First time in 6 months. It felt different. Earned. 8 months after our separation, I moved back in. Not because everything was perfect, but because we'd built something real enough to try living together again. We set new rules, new boundaries. He was still in therapy. We were still in couples therapy. We still had hard days, but they were our hard days. Not scripted, not managed. Just two imperfect people trying to build something honest. One night, about a year after everything fell apart, we were lying in bed, just talking. He said, "I saw her today." My whole body tensed. Where? The grocery store. She was in the produce section. Did you talk to her? No, but I wanted to. For like half a second, I wanted to tell her about my day. Ask her what she thought about something. Then I realized I wanted to tell you instead. What stopped you before? Fear. I was always afraid you'd judge me, that my thoughts weren't good enough, that I wasn't smart enough or deep enough or whatever. She never made me feel that way. And now? Now I realize she didn't make me feel bad about myself because she was using me too. Keeping me dependent kept her relevant. But you actually want me to grow, even when it's inconvenient for you. I rolled over to face him. Did you figure that out yourself? Or did Dr. Martinez tell you that? He smiled. Myself. Took me like 4 weeks to get there, but I got there. I'm proud of you. Yeah? Yeah. We fell asleep like that, facing each other. No scripts. No performance. Just us. It's been 2 years now since I found those messages. We're not perfect. We still have bad days. Still fight. Still mess up. But it's real. He makes his own decisions now. Some are good, some are terrible, but they're his. And I've learned to ask for what I need instead of waiting for him to guess. To be honest about my doubts instead of pretending everything's fine. Last month, he planned our anniversary. Didn't ask anyone for help. Took me to an art gallery because he'd remembered I used to paint. Bought me supplies afterward and said he wanted to watch me create something. It wasn't as polished as the old gestures, but it was thoughtful in a way those never were. How'd you come up with this? I asked. I just thought about what you might actually enjoy, what you've given up, what might make you happy. That simple? Took me like 2 weeks of overthinking, but yeah, eventually it was that simple. We're going to be okay. Not because we fixed everything, but because we're finally building something that belongs to us. No consultants, no scripts, no safety nets, just two people learning how to love each other for real. But that's not where the story ends. Because rebuilding trust isn't a straight line. It's messy and complicated, and sometimes you take 10 steps back after taking 5 forward. About 18 months into our reconciliation, I had a bad day at work. My boss had criticized a project I'd spent months on, called it unfocused and amateurish in front of the entire team. I came home angry and humiliated. My husband was in the kitchen making dinner, something simple, pasta with vegetables. "How was your day?" he asked, and I snapped. "Don't do that. Don't ask me questions you already know the answer to. Don't perform concern." He turned off the stove. I wasn't performing. I genuinely wanted to know. "Did you? Or were you following some script about what good husbands do when their wives come home?" He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "I'm going to be honest with you. My first instinct was to text my brother and ask him what to say, because you're clearly upset and I'm afraid of making it worse. But I didn't. I'm standing here not knowing what to do, asking you a simple question because I actually want to know how your day was." The honesty deflated my anger. "It was terrible," I admitted. "Do you want to talk about it, or do you want me to leave you alone?" "I don't know." "Okay, I'm going to finish making dinner. You can join me or go take a bath or whatever you need. But I'm here if you want to talk." I almost cried, because it was such a normal response. No grand gesture, no perfectly calibrated sympathy, just a person trying to navigate another person's bad mood. That night, we ate dinner in mostly silence. He didn't push, didn't try to fix it, just sat with me in my bad mood. Later, when we were getting ready for bed, I told him what had happened. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he said, "Your boss is an idiot. That project was good. You never even saw it. I saw how hard you worked on it. I saw how excited you were. That counts for something." It wasn't poetry. It wasn't the kind of thing that would get written in a card or posted on social media. But it was real, and it was his. There were other moments too, smaller ones. Like when he forgot my birthday and instead of panicking and calling someone for help, he just apologized and said he'd been distracted by work. We celebrated a week late with takeout and a movie. It wasn't Instagram-worthy, but it was honest. Or the time he made a major career decision without consulting me first. He'd been offered a promotion that would mean longer hours and more travel. He accepted it without asking me. I was furious. "We're married," I said. "You don't just make decisions that affect both of us without discussing it." "You're right," he said. "I fucked up. I was so excited about the opportunity that I didn't think about how it would impact you. So what are you going to do about it?" "I'm going to call them tomorrow and tell them I need to reconsider. And we're going to talk about it together and make a decision as a team." He did. We talked it through, weighed the pros and cons, decided together that he should take it. But the fact that he'd paused, reconsidered, included me in the decision, that mattered. Dr. Martinez once told us that healthy relationships aren't about never making mistakes. They're about how you handle the mistakes when they happen. We were getting better at that part. Around the 2-year mark, my best friend from college, Whitney, came to visit. She'd known my husband since the beginning, had been at our wedding, had sent care packages when I was staying with my sister. We were having coffee while he was at work. She studied me carefully. "You seem different," she said. "Different how?" "Lighter. Less like you're trying to be the perfect wife." I laughed. "I think I've given up on perfect." "Good. Perfect is exhausting." We talked about everything. Her job, her dating life, the weird rash her dog had developed. Then she asked, "So are you happy?" I thought about it. Really thought about it. I don't know if happy is the right word, but I'm content. I feel like I'm in a real relationship now, with all the boring parts and annoying parts and imperfect parts. "And you're okay with that?" "More than okay. Turns out I prefer real and messy to perfect and fake." Whitney nodded. "He's different too. At the wedding, he seemed almost too polished, like he'd practiced being a groom. Now he just seems like a regular guy." "That's because he is a regular guy. Just took him a while to figure that out." That evening, the 4 of us went to dinner. My husband, me, Whitney, and Caleb. It was casual, loud. We laughed about stupid things. My husband told a story about accidentally insulting a client and having to spend an hour apologizing. It was self-deprecating and funny and completely unrehearsed. Whitney caught my eye across the table and smiled. She approved. But not everything was smooth. There were still triggers. Still moments where I'd question everything. Like when I saw him on his phone late one night. He was in the bathroom and I heard him talking quietly. My heart started racing, old fears bubbling up. I waited until he came out. "Who are you talking to?" He looked confused. "My brother. He's having issues with his girlfriend and wanted advice. Can I see your phone?" He handed it over immediately. No hesitation, no defensiveness. I checked. He was telling the truth. Just a conversation with his brother about relationship problems. I handed it back. "Sorry." "Don't be sorry. I get it." "Do you get frustrated? That I still don't fully trust you?" He sat down on the bed. "Sometimes. But I also understand why. I broke something. It's going to take time to rebuild it. Maybe forever. And you're okay with that?" "I have to be. This is the consequence of my actions. I don't get to decide when you trust me again. You do." These conversations happened more than I'd like to admit. Me checking, him reassuring, both of us trying to navigate the aftermath of what he'd done. Dr. Martinez said it was normal. That trust wasn't a switch you could flip back on. It was something you rebuilt slowly, through consistency and honesty. One day in therapy, about 2.5 years after everything imploded, Dr. Martinez asked me a question that stopped me cold. "Do you think you'll ever fully trust him again?" I sat with it, really considered it. "I don't know," I finally said. I want to, but I don't know if I can. My husband looked devastated. Dr. Martinez turned to him. How does that make you feel? Like I ruined everything. Did you? He thought about it. Maybe. Maybe some things can't be fixed. Is that true? Dr. Martinez asked me. I don't know. I think we've built something new, but it's not what we had before. Because what we had before wasn't real? Can you be okay with that? With this new thing that's imperfect and uncertain? I looked at my husband. Really looked at him. Saw the fear in his eyes. The hope. The exhaustion from trying so hard to be different. I think so, I said. I think I have to be. That session broke something open. We both cried in the car afterward. Not sad crying, just release. We'd been carrying so much weight, so much expectation that we'd get back to how things were, but we couldn't. That version of our marriage was dead. This version was something else entirely. I don't know if I can keep apologizing forever, he said, sitting in the parking lot. I don't want you to. Then what do you want? I want you to keep being yourself, even when it's awkward or wrong. I want you to keep trying, and I want to stop punishing you for something you're actively working to change. Are you punishing me? Sometimes. When I check your phone, when I question your motives, when I assume the worst instead of giving you the benefit of the doubt. He reached over and took my hand. I earned that suspicion. I know. But I don't want to live there anymore. It's exhausting. We sat in silence for a while. Then I said something I'd been thinking about for months. I forgive you. He turned to look at me. What? I forgive you. Not because you've earned it, or because everything's fixed, but because I can't carry this anger anymore. It's making me bitter. He started crying again. I don't deserve that. Probably not. But I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it for me. Forgiveness didn't mean trust. Didn't mean everything was okay, but it meant I was choosing to let go of the anger that had been eating me alive. The next few months were different, lighter. I stopped checking his phone, stopped questioning every kind gesture, started taking him at his word unless he gave me a reason not to. And he kept being consistent, kept showing up, kept being imperfect and real. We celebrated our 6th wedding anniversary with a weekend trip. Nothing fancy, just a cabin in the mountains. No phones, no distractions. On the last night, we were sitting on the porch watching the stars. Do you ever think about what would have happened if you'd never found out? He asked. Sometimes. Would we have been happy? I thought we were happy, but it wasn't real. Do you think this is better, even with all the pain? I thought about it, about the past 2.5 years, the therapy, the tears, the slow, agonizing work of rebuilding. Yes, I said, because at least now I know you, the real you, and I can decide if I want to be with that person. And do you want to be with that person? I looked at him, at the man who'd broken my heart and then spent years trying to piece it back together, who'd been brave enough to face his own cowardice, who'd chosen the hard work of growth over the comfort of staying the same. Yeah, I said, I do. He smiled. Not the performative smile from before, the real one, slightly crooked, uncertain. I'm glad, he said, because I really love you, and I think this is the first time I've said that and actually understood what it means. We went inside and made love. It was different than before, more honest, more present, neither of us performing, just two people choosing each other. Later, lying in bed, I thought about how we'd gotten here, all the small moments that had led to this one, all the times we'd almost given up but didn't. What are you thinking about? He asked. How far we've come. Sometimes it doesn't feel far enough. We're doing okay. Are we? Yeah. We are, and we were. Not perfect, not healed, but real. It's been 4 years now since I found those messages. People sometimes ask if it was worth it, if I should have just left. I don't know how to answer that. Because the relationship I'm in now isn't the one I was in then. We're different people. We've built something completely new. Some days I think about what my life would look like if I'd walked away. Maybe I'd have met someone else. Someone who didn't need years of therapy to learn how to be authentic. Someone who didn't have to relearn how to have his own thoughts. But then I look at my husband, at the man who was brave enough to face his deepest flaws, who chose growth even when it was humiliating, who loved me enough to let me leave and trusted that if I came back, it would be real. And I think maybe this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. Not because it's perfect. Not because it's easy, but because it's ours. Really, truly ours.